Hello, welcome to the first Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series episode brought to you by the Showboys. My name is Mike, and not as always, but as a couple times, I am now joined by. Oh, I turned the wrong way. My friend Jordan. He's here. He's here with us. He's going to be doing the companion series with me. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. I'm glad to have you. I'm really looking forward to digging into some comic stuff with you.
Absolutely. It's as all the other as with everything else. I'm happy to be here. It's a lot of fun every time.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to not talk Christmas or Halloween
or blockchain.
That's true. Though since that episode, I did buy some Theta. So
yeah,
there you go. You did something right. But yeah, so if you're familiar with Showboys at all, we did a companion series back with season 2 of The Mandalorian, and basically what we do is after every episode comes out, we get on here on the podcast and we overanalyze, speculate, theory craft, whatever word you want to insert there. Basically just recap the episode that just came out, and then go as deep as we can into that episode and what we think might happen, further on in the series. And we do that for every episode that comes out, the day or the second, 2 days after the episode releases. And then it just gives you, the viewer of the show that you enjoy, something to consume while you wait between episodes, and maybe something to get your mind, turning and thinking about things that might happen in the show. It was super fun for The Mandalorian, and I've been itching to get back into a companion series. And, after WandaVision, I'm really hyped about the MCU miniseries that are coming down the pipe here, and thought this would be a great one to take a crack at. So, that's kind of what we're doing here. I don't know. Are you excited to be doing this, Jordan? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. I was kidding. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's ever since the MCU started, it's a lot of people I meet will talk a little bit about comics, and they'll ask me comic book questions, and I've never really had a platform to discuss comic book scenarios like this, or topics like this. It's meant for it. It's sitting in the middle of a comic book store. Sometimes it's easy to do,
right?
With other people, and you're just like, oh my god, 2 hours just went by, and I'm never going to see this person again.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we plan to do every week after the new episode comes out. And I'm just excited because similarly to Star Wars, the MCU is such a vast franchise of movies and now shows. So there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of things that we can really sink our teeth into and overanalyze, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, we'll be doing this. We'll be recording a live stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. following the latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And if you're here now or listening, on the audio version that we'll be releasing every Tuesday, you'll notice that there wasn't an episode on Friday. And you might be wondering why we're doing this. Well, we wanted to just get you as hyped for this show as we are. So we thought it'd be a good idea to maybe have a pre-show show. And we just kind of want to catch up on where Sam and Bucky left us at the end of Infinity War and Endgame. Jordan's going to take us through Bucky and Sam's comic book origin story, which I think will be fun. And then, we might just break down the trailer. I have questions for Jordan. Truth be told, I'm not a huge Marvel comic guy. The comics I do read have all been DC stuff. So I know nothing about the Marvel comic universe, but I am like neck deep in the MCU. So, I'm glad Jordan is here to guide me in the comic book ways for this, for sure. So hopefully he'll have a lot of answers to my many, many, many questions. And we might, maybe speculate what this series might do to the MCU as a whole. Much like WandaVision, how that series ended, seems to have some rather large implications for the MCU. I wonder if this series will as well. So without further ado, have you recently seen Infinity War or Endgame, or has it been quite some time for you, Jordan?
It's been quite some time, but the ending of Endgame is obviously just like a lot of comic book fans, like seared into your brain. So it's an easy lift off into what we're about to get into with this companion series.
Yeah. So Infinity War. I don't know. I don't think we see Sam get dusted, but I think it's implied that he pops up on one of the screens or something of heroes that got dusted.
Yeah.
But we saw Bucky just ash away in front of our eyes, flutter into the sky, right in front of poor Cap.
Like if there's a way I gotta go, I'd probably rather go that way than
yeah.
It's so peaceful, right?
Mr. Jordan, I don't feel so good. So large part of Endgame, they're not really in the picture, and they join in the final fight against Thanos with the classic, Captain America's, it seems to be at the end of his road. Thor is a bloody mess, and Tony Stark is, a pile of scraps.
Aluminum foil.
Yeah. And Cap's just, standing there with his half-broken shield and staring Thanos, maybe in his final moments. And all of a sudden you hear, on your left, and then you see the swirly portals open up, and the waterworks start. Everyone's eyes start watering, and the cavalry arrives, and then you get the classic Avengers Assemble line, which actually does make me tear up when I hear that.
Yeah, the only way I would change it is I wouldn't have him whisper it. That was the only gripe I had with it.
Yeah.
When he finally says assemble, it's like so like soft.
Yeah. He's like saying it to himself.
Yeah.
Maybe they should hear you say that if you're trying to assemble them. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. They probably tried it and it just sounded really cheesy. So it's probably just
Yeah. So they come back, Bucky and Sam, along with the plethora of other superheroes. They defeat Thanos, and then Cap goes back in time, returns the Infinity Stones to their rightful place, and comes back as an old man. And we get this, bittersweet exchange between Sam and Cap, and basically Cap passes the mantle of Captain America down to Sam, and he accepts the newly forged shield, which looks cool. And Sam kind of looks back at Bucky, and Bucky gives him a little nod of approval. And there we have it. That's where we left with Sam and Bucky. So one thing I'm curious about is like how soon after Endgame this show will be.
I would assume. I mean, again, it's obviously this is all assumption, through this episode. I would assume it's going to immediately follow it. There's no longer a threat to the world, I guess even in Thanos' case, the universe, but it's becoming more of a shield mission, right? They're not. They're a couple of sidekicks essentially, right? They're not like a Thor power level to where they need to go around saving the world. There's little minute things going on around the world. Probably, I'm assuming based on the flag smashers that we see in the trailer, it's maybe politically based, maybe geopolitical, whatever. But just going to different countries, doing different missions for Shield. I think we'll see a lot of lower tier stuff. Not exactly like street level criminal fighting, but more government level criminal fighting.
Yes.
It's a middle ground there. It's weird. It's having that like the planetary threat is obviously like the highest, and it'll be something mid range.
So like with I assume you watched WandaVision, yes or no?
I've dabbled through it.
Okay, it looks like WandaVision kind of I might be wrong about this, but I think it starts like pretty much right after Endgame or shortly thereafter. Because, well, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I won't. But one thing we had some podcasts.
I know the gist of what's happening. So
Okay.
you don't feel like you have to spoil it for me. I know the power levels. I know about Agatha. I know all the whole shebang with that. But.
Okay. Yeah. So without spoiling the show itself, like a lot of what WandaVision tackled was how Wanda has dealt with, or lack thereof, not dealt with her grief from what happened in Infinity War and Endgame, with Vision killing Vision, him coming back to life, and then watching Thanos rip his stone out of his head, watching him die then, and then then what happens in WandaVision. So that show very much at its core is kind of a look at how Wanda dealt with the repercussions of the snap and the return and all that. Well, I guess doesn't matter. The return doesn't matter for Wanda because Vision died before then. But so with all that being said, I wonder, if Falcon and Winter Soldier will also tackle some aspect of the repercussions of, the snap and the return and all that stuff.
I think with Falcon, there's probably a lot of story there to dive into. Maybe Falcon's backstory, maybe missing out with his family, the same way we saw with Ant-Man with his daughter, Scott Lang with his daughter.
Yeah.
With Winter Soldier, his whole life is basically missing how many years.
Yeah.
He's nothing but like just time loopholes. So maybe he'll accompany him through that. But I could definitely see they have to talk about it, right? That's something that drives it all in, whether it's them or it's a side character, going along with it.
Well, like one thing we've seen so far, I'm always on the fence if Spider-Man Homecoming is like phase 3 or phase 4, because I mean, like technically it's after Endgame.
Yeah.
But like it was like literally released right after Endgame. So
I forgot about the controversy around that.
Yeah. So whether it's phase 3 or phase 4, but like that movie, Peter was dealing with the repercussions of Endgame. WandaVision, same thing. Like, so I wonder if at least these early entries will all in some way show some sort of, coping or like some way of these heroes trying to wrap their heads around like what just happened, especially with, both of them being dusted, like, and coming back. That's probably crazy. But one thing, we had some fellow podcasters on our episode Thursday that'll be releasing tomorrow from A Bite Of, and they just did their last season on WandaVision. So we kind of did some MCU talk in that episode. And one thing that we all came to agreement on enjoying with these series is how, like you said, Sam and Bucky are basically just sidekicks of Captain America. WandaVision is not like a sidekick level character. WandaVision. Scarlet Witch is not that type of character. She's like an Omega level character, right? But what we've seen of her in the MCU, she has very much been like a tertiary character that doesn't get much screen time, plays very small roles, even though she's super strong, probably the strongest person in. Yeah. And like Loki, again, not like a weak character in any stretch of the imagination, but like that miniseries, it will be just growing that character. We get to see all of these side characters like have some serious development and like attention in these miniseries, which is really cool. Like we're gonna have a Hawkeye series, we're gonna have the Armor Wars series with War Machine, and like all these more minor characters, getting some light shown on them. So I'm excited to see what they do with Sam and Bucky, because they're kind of cool characters. But another thing that we kind of talked about on Thursday was how out of the box WandaVision was for Marvel and Disney, and how out of the box probably Loki will be with the seemingly TVA, story arc that they're going to go in there with, the time variance and all that stuff with Loki time traveling. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be that palate cleanse in between two very odd shows for Disney. Even though I loved WandaVision and love what they're going to do with Loki, I love that style of show. But this seems more of your run-of-the-mill MCU, like, here's the superheroes, there's the bad guys, they're going to defeat them, and that's it.
Sure.
Like WandaVision kind of leaves you in a gray area, and Loki is going to be doing all kinds of crazy time travel stuff that's going to be weird. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you kind of get that vibe too, where this is just kind of like, here's your normal MCU, enjoy this for 6 weeks, and then we'll get back to the weird stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's Wanda is a Omega level mutant. She can literally alter reality. Loki is a Norse deity, so obviously he's gonna. I'm kind of curious of what road they'll go down with that. But having a grounded show like this, I think it'll be kind of the MCU's version of. I don't want to say the Mandalorian, but I kind of do, because it gives you a little. They kind of have the cowboy feel to them, right? They're kind of like, they're both obviously gunslingers. They're jumping into a situation that they're trying to be controlled by a higher, like a higher level of superiority. Like the government's trying to control what they do, but they obviously can't.
Right.
Obviously, the missions will go a little crazy. They won't get along. It's part of the drama of the show. That's why I like the idea of it's Lethal Weapon, but in the MCU. Yeah. It's really the best way to put it. Lethal Weapon's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready for. I mean, I've enjoyed what I've seen of the characters throughout the MCU, so I'm glad that they're gonna get like 6 episodes dedicated strictly to them and their story. But why don't you shed some light on their comic book origin stories?
Well, we were talking about this. They don't have the most like crazy interesting origin stories. Particularly like Sam Wilson, Falcon. I believe he came. His first he first showed up as the Falcon in around the late 1960s, and a lot of his origin story was based on an island. He went there for a particular mission. He was really into birds. One of his first sidekicks, which I hope we see in the show, like maybe like a mechanized version of it. But he had a pet named Redbird, I believe, and that was kind of his sidekick. It was kind of like it was literally like a hawk that was like a red hawk that flew off on its own and did its own thing for him. But so he was like a bird caller. I was like a hawk, was like a falcon, but whatever. Tomato. But a lot of that, Sam Wilson, he's had a lot of a social impact on comics. Him, like Luke Cage, they were one of the first, more successful black superheroes. That really people were like, oh, this is different for us to see around this time. And he definitely was able to kind of break certain barriers, that were around that particular time. I'd arguably say today, but it definitely broke the mold. And he goes into being the Falcon, obviously, for the Avengers once his character is established, and his character evolves over time. He's got early on his very feathered look to his outfit. Eventually, I believe his wings become like a sort of vibranium feel to them, so they can slice through things. And then he eventually gets hard light wings, so it becomes literal light that creates the wings. Really, really cool stuff. And so the character evolves over time, and he became Falcon in 2014, maybe. Whenever I believe it's 2014. It's all new Captain America #1, and that has the iconic cover with him standing in the the Captain America outfit with the shield. It's
nice.
It was really, for someone who didn't really read a whole lot of Marvel at that time. I remember passing by that book and I'm like, what the hell is this? When did this happen?
Yeah.
And that was after Civil War. Captain America was just shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of the gist of the Falcon. But Bucky,
before we go into Bucky real quick,
sure.
was Sam like a part of the military like he was in the MCU, or?
So from what I can remember, he was not part of the military. He went to this island. I believe he was framed being, I think like smuggling. I don't know if it was drugs or something, but he was framed. And so he kind of has the classic, like, stuck on an island, has to adapt to it and become his own entity out of it. That's where he kind of learned his, serious stuff. I can't remember. I don't believe he might have had. I don't think he had any military background.
So was he the Falcon before, like, he met the Avengers? Like, how did he wiggle his way into the Avengers?
He joined. Well, he began Falcon, and he started being Captain America and the Falcon. They had their own series together. So he kind of worked with Captain America before joining the Avengers.
Okay.
Joining the Avengers back then was a big deal. Now, like, everybody and their roommate is in the Avengers. Even Deadpool was part of the Avengers at one point.
Right.
I really am trying to remember if he had military background or not. Maybe someone else can.
How did he end up crossing paths with Cap?
I think Captain. I don't remember how they. I never read the first book of that. I kind of read the middle to the end of that series, but I believe Captain America. He saved Captain America. Oh, I'm trying to think now. I can't remember. So I'm thinking about.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I will say I will be a Jordan apologist right now.
Sure.
Before we came on here, Jordan was busy just stomping a debate with the Be Hero Fights podcast. I don't want to spoil anything, but he did a lot of hard work over there, a lot of heavy lifting, and so his brain might be a little frazzled right now. So
it was a little crazy.
I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass for tonight.
I really want to. You know what's crazy? I think in the comics he actually met Captain America while running also.
Nice. Very nice.
We'll go with that.
All right. So then, what's up with Bucky?
So for Bucky, Bucky was like literally the epitome of a sidekick. He was in Captain America comics #1, and that's when that series ended. It just simply ended. After World War II, comic sales just plummeted, absolutely plummeted, and it eventually got to a point. Ironically, after the assassination of President Kennedy, they decided that America kind of needs Captain America again, right? So it was, I think, Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. So it was March of 1964 that Captain America came back, and it was a classic Silver Age comic book called Avengers #4, and Bucky makes a side appearance in that. And that was when it was revealed that Captain America was lost and frozen after World War II, and then they had to rescue them.
Nice.
And it was, Bucky didn't become the Winter Soldier till it was like 2005, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's relatively new at that. It was a Captain America. I just picked up the comic, honestly. It was one I wanted to have. It was Captain America #6, I think. And it was Bucky really gets the Red Hood feel for Marvel. You know what I mean? Kind of the Jason Todd Robin obviously gets killed by the Joker, comes back as Red Hood, and you never know who Red Hood is, and it's a big mystery, you know. And they reveal it's Jason Todd. Yeah, Bucky really does that for Captain America.
So is it a similar origin of the Winter Soldier like we saw in the movies, where like he gets captured by Hydra and then just
absolutely
annihilated into oblivion?
The Russians utilize him, and they restore him. They have their own super soldier program. They do the whole shebang, and the term Winter Soldier, it's a play on Summer Soldier, which it's when a lot of soldiers came back from war and they were forgotten about, and government didn't really help them out. It was Winter Soldier was kind of a parody of Summer Soldier.
Oh, nice.
Kind of went with them, and it's kind of a cool name. When I first heard about that, I was like, it's such a stupid name. I went on. I'm like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sweet now.
Yeah.
Also, anyone who's watching the YouTube video or the live stream, and you notice when I adjust my seating position, I am wearing Batman pants on a Marvel show. Deal with it. And also, it looks like you're wearing a Swamp Thing shirt on.
Oh, heck, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so double deal with it. We're DC fanboys, but you know what? We also like Marvel too, because you can do that.
Right.
That's what we really need, though, by the way, is like a Justice League Dark thing to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like live action, please.
Absolutely.
But hey, don't want to derail this entire show, but that would be like my favorite thing ever.
Oh my gosh! Actually, real quick. When you just talked about DC, Red Bird was the motorcycle Robin rode. Red Wing was Falcon's pet bird. Oh my god! Yeah,
you're fired. But yes,
let me do it to myself.
We're gonna have this as like a reoccurring segment of the companion series, where once an episode I fire Jordan. But no, I think we're gonna do this though for real. Every episode we're gonna find a cool character that maybe you don't know the origin story of from the comics. So we're definitely gonna have a little segment where we dive into a character from that episode into their comic origins. So hopefully we find some cool obscure characters that, well, I mean, every character is going to be an obscure comic character to me because I don't read the Marvel comics. So.
Yeah, the Silver and Bronze Age where a lot of this happened. I was, for Marvel in particular, I never really went back to read a ton of it. I did my best to, read the highlights of what I always wanted to know being a comic book fan. You don't really run into some pro on the history of Falcon. Same with Bucky. It's just one of those characters. You're like, there they are. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Highlights. Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah. But hey, speaking of highlights, this has nothing to do with it. But I did watch the trailer. Just a short bit ago before we went live. I have some questions for you because there's a lot from the trailer that is new to the MCU, obviously, and that I want to learn about. And the first being, what is this huge like nightlife city like Tokyo like that's all like lit up in neon lights that we see here? This seems like a probably not great place.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's a place called Madripoor, and it's a fictional city within the Singapore area, I think. And it's very, if you read X-Men comics, you'll see Wolverine has a small history there. I believe Psylocke had some stuff go on there, but ironically, importantly to Sam's origin story, he was crash landed on the island of the Exiles, and ironically, the Exiles hang out in this fictional city of Madripoor. The Hand, also from the Daredevil series too. They got a big station there too. So it's got a lot of character history to build on.
Okay.
And if WandaVision did anything to alter reality, or even the reality gem did it and brought mutants into the timeline, we could find more of them there.
See some Easter eggs here,
Yeah,
maybe in this city.
Absolutely. And one of the cool visuals that they do in that trailer in Madripoor is you have everything from rich crime lords to like the lowest guttered slums. You know what I mean? Like you have casinos, you have everything, and if you can see almost like really, really rundown housing sitting underneath giant neon skyscrapers, and the water, you see like little trashy, like not trashy, it's so bad, little horrible fishing sailboats next to giant yachts. So this that one image really sets the tone for what they'll probably see. It feels like a Star Wars city, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that. And it sounds like the city has a lot of importance in the comics. So it'll be interesting if they actually leave some, clues, some Easter eggs in the scenes here. And you said Madripoor?
Madripoor, yeah. That's how I've always pronounced it. I've never like had it, verbalized really, but
hey, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, or if they're just gonna do an old like Evan Peters, Pietro, like, just a boner joke.
Could happen.
It's actually not Madripoor, it's actually Madra Boner.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's in Singapore, so I guess that's kind of where I get the sounding.
Hey, I have no idea. I've never heard of this place, so you could have fooled me if you're wrong. So
lying about everything so far. I'm just
everyone watching is like, why does he have this guy on the show?
Just lying about everything. Yeah.
Oh man, the next big thing that I saw in the trailer, obviously, is Zemo's return, and he's holding his fabled purple mask.
Right. That was one of the biggest upsets for me in Civil Wars. We never got to see the purple mask. It kind of adds the comic book character to the mastermind,
Right.
But what Baron Zemo could be doing, and it's the sky's the limit. Honestly, he's done everything from just making Captain America's life a personal hell to, just completely wrecking the Avengers. I have no idea what he could possibly be doing, but I'm pretty. Maybe honestly, he might be doing some type of manipulation, maybe through like propaganda or something to maybe help the Flag Smashers carry on their mission.
Okay,
that's just an idea. But.
Yeah. I was wondering. So, like, we last saw Zemo in Civil War, right? And he's trying to break up the Avengers, which he did successfully. But hey. Thanos came and they're just like, hey, let's squash this beef and then take out this big purple grimace, like gauntlet wearing D-bag. And so, obviously they're not going to retread the same tire and have him try to break up the Avengers again. So yeah, I was definitely wondering like what exactly they plan to do with this character and like what's he up to? What's he scheming back there behind that purple mask?
Exactly.
But you bring up the Flag Smashers, and so those are the people we see in the trailer with the mask and the like red hand, like Lord of the Rings hand print over their face.
I thought of the same thing. Like it's like Lord of the Rings meets The Purge, right?
Yes. Anytime, full disclosure, I see a hand print on any face, I just yes, it's just Lord of the Rings. Will always be. But I think, maybe some people got duped into thinking maybe this was the Hand organization. But I think a lot of pundits out there are pointing towards the Flag Smashers, which I know nothing about either organization. So why don't you explain the Flag Smashers to me?
So the Flag Smashers, plural, I'm not going to really have much of an idea on because to my knowledge, they never existed in comics. In comics, it was embodied into one character named the Flag Smasher, and it wasn't really anything beyond that. But he was he was kind of a low-tiered villain that I think you'd see him in. Obviously, you'd see him in Captain America. You'd see him in. He actually popped up in Moon Knight a few times, and I think Ghost Rider at one point. I don't know why he would go against Ghost Rider, but he really the character himself is just like he's like a terrorist mastermind, a lot like Baron Zemo, which is probably why they decided to take the character and make it into an organization rather than just a solid character, because we have Baron Zemo, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Zemo takes that like mantle in the MCU as like the founder organizer of the Flag Smashers.
He could be like the Cobra commander of that group, and they're Cobra, right?
Right.
It's all speculation, but in my mind, that makes sense. That Baron Zemo is fueling the Flag Smasher group with a particular propaganda that the world maybe doesn't need. A Captain America, or Captain America had the wrong ideals, and that's why Sam's not exactly. You can tell that Sam's not Captain America yet, right?
Yeah. He definitely has a lot of like hesitation in the scenes of Sam in the trailer, like specifically when you see him in the suit, holding like the suit like tuxedo suit, not like Falcon or Captain America suit, but like I think they're in the museum or something. Maybe it kind of looks like the Captain America-ish museum that we've seen in whatever movie that was in. But he's like holding Cap's shield, and he just like looks hesitant or like not thrilled.
Right. Like
so,
I'm Batman for this, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's like he feels bad that he's like replacing a friend and like a colleague, or if he's, if there's maybe some other sinister type like reason for that.
We might see a dynamic also where maybe Bucky's a little bit irritated though that he didn't become Captain America himself, right? He's a super soldier. He served with Captain America.
Yeah.
And in the comic books, he became the second Captain America.
Yeah.
Anything.
It could be. I mean, then because also in the trailer they're kind of in like a group therapy session, so maybe they very well could be. But you mentioned, Flag Smasher as like a terrorist. You got Zemo as pretty much the same thing. Who else was kind of labeled as a terrorist organization in the MCU, and that would be the 10 Rings. And I wonder if maybe there is any correlation between the Flag Smashers or Zemo and the 10 Rings that popped up at Iron Man 2 or 3 or whatever random one-off mention they were in an Iron Man movie. Because we know that the 10 Rings is probably going to be returning in the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. Correct, I believe.
Is it called Legend of the 10 Rings?
I want to say so, but I could be wrong. So let me Google it. But we know that there
it is.
Oh, yes. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about. It's not very often. On steroids. It's got 10 of them. But yeah, I wonder if because they've been referenced before as a terrorist organization. Now, again, like I've been saying this whole episode, I don't know anything other than what I've seen in the MCU. So I don't know the real comic version of the 10 Rings and what they're all about. But I wonder if somehow the Flag Smashers or Zemo will tie into that, and maybe some of the stuff that we see in Falcon and Winter Soldier play out in the Shang-Chi movie.
That's a really good idea, because the 10 Rings, they're weapons of the Mandarin, right? Yeah. Iron Man 3, I believe, got into that in the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Show the Mandarin.
And side note, there was actually a short film, I don't even know if it was a fan short or if it was something that Marvel actually put out, but Kevin Feige's yeah, you guys should watch that whenever it came out, because that actually is canon. So I don't recall off the top of my head what the name of that short was, but I definitely remember seeing that video and then being I need to watch that, and then never watched it. But it kind of goes a little deeper into the Mandarin and I almost said the Mandalorian and the Ten Rings.
The Mandarinalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible, especially since, again, we're going to Madripoor in Singapore, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting closer to the region where potentially some members of that could be hanging out. I mean, I hope that the whole show is not just around them chasing a bunch of, I mean, the flag smashers, based on what we were watching. Well, I guess they like hijack like a semi, so they're not like just running through the streets throwing Molotovs or anything. They obviously have some funding, which really leads me back to the idea that Zemo probably is behind a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Madripoor should. There's got to be a reason why they showed that in the trailer, and that's probably where a lot of it will expand on. Hopefully.
So, do you know much about Shang-Chi at all?
But he's in the Marvel comics, the Chi is obviously a real power, and Shang-Chi is the master of the Chi power.
Really, I know that his character was basically Bruce Lee in comic form. They even like came out and said like, yeah, this is pretty much
this is
Bruce
our
Lee.
version. Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so like, does he have any history of Madripoor, like being in there?
Not to my knowledge. Most of the stuff that I really I read through with Shang-Chi was through I believe Heroes for Hire and some Secret Avengers stuff, and none of that really went there. Okay. Marvel Knights too, but if you ever want to learn a lot about Shang-Chi, he had a series along with Iron Fist also. So if you're an Iron Fist fan, you want to read them together.
Yeah. So another like side trail here, since we're talking about Shang-Chi, from what I've heard about this movie, is it almost sounds like an MC version of Mortal Kombat. like the movie, a big premise of the movie is this big fighting tournament that Shang-Chi is gonna be a combatant in. There's speculation that Iron Fist, whether or not it's played by the Netflix Iron Fist, if it's a reboot or a continuation of that character played by the same guy, or if it's just like a complete like reboot of it. He's supposed to be in it. Maybe Bucky or Sam somehow gets roped into it. But yeah, there's a list of some confirmed characters that are supposed to be fighting in this tournament, and I don't know. Again, we have no idea. Where this whole episode 0 is just a giant speculation fest. But I wonder. You never know. Maybe it would be super cool if they somehow tied in, Zemo and the Flag Smashers and the Ten Rings, and somehow that ropes in Bucky or Sam into this fighting tournament somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. There's other side characters they can pull into that too. Like for Shang-Chi, there's Swordmaster was one of the characters. It's kind of an unfair fight though, probably in a ring. I mean, technically not because they have superpowers, but if they're not using powers,
right.
Sword.
Yeah, we got some cool returning characters here that we've seen from past MCU stuff. I've heard that Don Cheadle might make an appearance as War Machine, which would make sense. Yeah. Sharon Carter will be back as confirmed in the trailer. She's smacking dudes with metal batons and throwing some flying knees, so that'll be cool. And George St. Pierre is back, reprising his role as George Batroc from Civil War. Yeah. So I'm interested. I don't recall off the top of my head. Was he affiliated in any way with Zemo, or was that just like a random side, completely different side story to start off Civil War or whatever? Because he was the guy on the tanker ship or whatever they like.
That the Shield raided on with Captain America being the captain of the mission. Mm-hmm. Batroc in the comics, he's I believe he's a kickboxer.
Yeah.
But he's like a lethal kickboxer. I always kind of joke he's like Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport.
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah. He really, really feels that way. And, side note for that is really cool because he's really the only non-superpowered person to actually stand up to Captain America, right? He wasn't really scared of him, and he fought him, and he lost, obviously. But But he's basically a French mercenary. So he could be working for Zemo, and then he could be working for God knows who else later on.
Just a leg for hire.
Exactly. Yeah. Particularly the right leg. Yeah.
Yes. But fun fact, if you're not a UFC fan, have no idea who Georges St-Pierre is, the actor who plays Batroc in Civil War. He is a French UFC fighter. So
I didn't know that.
There you go. Yeah, he's actually one of the best UFC fighters in his time. He held the belt for quite some time. So I always find it cool when they actually get someone who knows what they're doing fighting wise to play in these heavy action, hand-to-hand combat type roles. So he was, he knew what he was doing to old Chris Evans.
Sounds like it.
That probably really sucked filming that with that stunt double.
Yeah. There's a classic team. He's the leader of it in the comics too, called Batroc's Brigade. He was in like a pink and gold outfit. He's
very
not
nice.
I think in the trailer it showed him in like a purple gold outfit, didn't it? Like a vest, or I don't know. I was noticing there was definitely some throwbacks for that, but he's also that particular character is a member at one point of the Thunderbolts. I don't know if you know who the Thunderbolts are.
I've heard. I don't know much, but I keep hearing that tossed around in like Marvel. Okay, sorry for all the side notes, but like here's another one. If you've listened to Showboys for any period of time, you'll know that I typically do not like to watch trailers or like read up on movies or shows that I want to watch. There's only one exception, and then that is the MCU. Like, I'm super invested in the story, but like, I don't really care if stuff gets like mildly spoiled for me, or if I like get into other people's speculation because I find it fun. But like, I would never do that for DC stuff. I would never do that for random movies that I go watch. I like to just go into things blind and like experience everything about what I'm watching for the first time as I'm watching it, instead of like potentially having something ruined for me. But with that being said, of all the like speculation videos of Phase 4 and all this stuff, I've heard Thunderbolts be tossed around quite a bit. So please tell me more about them.
Oh, they're in essence, and not to put the DC movie on it, but in the comics, they're virtually the Suicide Squad in Marvel.
Okay.
They're basically the captured anti-heroes or villains set on this team, and they got to go complete these missions. And
right.
It's ironically, and this is kind of something I'm waiting for them to do something. But Thunderbolt Ross, who's like the main general in Civil War, he was in the original Hulk movie with Edward Norton before.
Yeah. That's the
Red,
link everyone keeps making.
Yeah, he's Red Hulk.
Oh,
and
okay.
And his daughter, Liv Tyler, is Red She-Hulk. I think she might be part. No, I don't think she's part of the Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolt Ross is a big part of the Thunderbolts, and it's kind of waiting because obviously he's kind of a villainous character, right?
Kind of a scumbag.
Yeah, he's kind of a scumbag. Yeah. So just waiting for something like that to happen.
But you're saying
Elektra's on there, Batroc's on there, Punisher's on there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which spicy rumor, if you've listened to our newscast at all, like I've thrown out many articles about the rumors of John Bernthal reprising his role as Frank Castle in a new Punisher series that is actually within the MCU, which it might be pushed over to Hulu instead of Disney Plus, obviously, because of its more mature and graphically violent content. But
I'd almost rather than not make it that. I mean, as much as I'd love to see it graphic because the Punisher, I'd almost rather than not do that, just to keep the identity, together with everything else.
I will say, out of all, did you watch any of the Netflix Marvel series, like Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage?
I watched all of them besides the Defenders, which is ironically the Defenders are my favorite Marvel team.
Nice. Go figure. The Punisher was probably my favorite of the Netflix Marvel series. Daredevil is amazing. I didn't watch much Luke Cage. I liked, Jessica Jones was all right. Never watched Iron Fist or Defenders. But yeah, so of all the Netflix Marvel characters that I hope that they, tie into the MCU now that they have those rights, Frank Castle is one. John Bernthal was an amazing Punisher. And I like Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. I think he did a cool version of Daredevil. But the person from the Netflix Marvel or the Netflix Daredevil show, they need that Kingpin. Like Vincent D'Onofrio was so good as Kingpin.
Smashing the head with the car door.
Oh my gosh. He was so brutal.
I remember and I've watched all the Punisher. It never happened one time through the craziness of the Punisher or even season 2 of Daredevil where Punisher does the craziest things. But when Kingpin was smashing the dude's head with the car door, I was just like, I don't even do like horror movies. For some reason, the intensity of that. You could just,
dude,
like my head was getting crushed.
Yeah, he literally killed it. Like in that role as that character. So tangent aside, hope that they're able to bring those people into the MCU somehow. But yeah, so that's cool. So we have some more potential tie-ins to the Thunderbolts here. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how they tie in Batroc to Zemo to the Flag Smashers, and if any of those have any correlation with the Ten Rings. Do you have anything from the trailer in particular that maybe stood out to you that you're kind of looking forward to, or that you want to, enlighten me to, which could literally be anything? Because
I think I'm curious to see if they go into some of the, the Bronze Age and Silver Age stuff of the characters. The cybernetic prosthetic that Winter Soldier has, like if he loses it, like he's able to like control it with his mind. It could get some like Addams Family hand crawling thing.
He just thinks real hard and it comes flying through the air like Thor's hammer. He just sticks his stub out. It's like,
there's, as you can tell, again, a lot of this, the past, these characters are, you can tell why they don't dive into it too hard and they just take what they made in the MCU and move forward. Honestly, if I can go on a side thing, there's some of the characters, much like Guardians of the Galaxy, where I didn't care about these characters much at all before the MCU, and the MCU was able to make a movie with them and make me care about them. And it was kind of revolutionary for comics too, because all of a sudden I wanted to read their comics, right? It was, as a comic book lover, I'm like, they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Are they morons? And they killed it. And
Iron Man is huge, but wasn't he not like the most largest Marvel comic character? I mean, he wasn't like Captain America, Thor level in popularity, right?
No, he wasn't. He was an original part of the Avengers. But even the Avengers, when they first became the Avengers, it wasn't, I guess, even groundbreaking. Iron Man is still, I think in the Avengers #1, Iron Man's in like just a plain silver robotic looking outfit. When Stan Lee did a lot of the earlier things, especially with the Fantastic Four, and the character of the Thing, he was doing a lot of, he went from doing like these love novels to cowboy comic books, and then he started doing a bunch of kind of like horror type characters. And it's funny, the Thing, he was literally a character he had written for a horror series. And when he made the Fantastic Four, he was like, oh, this character will fit great in this, So when I look at the original Iron Man, he's just like a bumbling, he almost looks like an evil robot, So it has the same feel. So he doesn't look like he was meant to be anything spectacular.
Right.
And it took him a, decent amount of time and character development. Some of the best character developments of Tony Stark is he's a struggling alcoholic, and he was dealing with the fame, and where the Fantastic Four were celebrities because they were superheroes, Tony Stark was consumed by his previous lifestyle and, partying and having all that fun. But to answer your question, he wasn't like a big thing.
Right. Yeah. yeah, it's kind of funny that of all the characters, he's the one that kind of started this thing like 11, 12 years ago now.
2008, I think.
Yeah.
What a movie. It's so good.
It really was. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums up all the questions I had about the trailer. And I think we kind of did a little bit there to speculate what this show might do to the MCU as a whole, like moving forward. Now I do want to know, like, you know, with Wanda being a mutant and like everyone was expecting a big like sort of X-Men reveal or mutant reveal in the MCU, you know, now that they have the rights to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. But we kind of didn't really get too much of one, really. I mean, they kind of dealt with it a little bit. I mean, again, I don't want to like ruin too much of the actual show, so I don't want to go too deep into it, but like, do you expect any sort of Easter eggs pertaining to maybe mutants outside of the Madripoor tie-in? Do you see them maybe like somehow referencing a Reed Richards or something with SHIELD? Or
yeah, I definitely think yes to both of those. I think with Tony Stark being gone, Reed Richards is the next member to replace him for that. You know, in the comic books, there's a group called the Illuminati, and the Illuminati is like basically, you know, the smartest and richest people from around the world are working into it, and they're generally heroes. You know, but Doctor Strange is one of them. Black Panther is one of them. Reed Richards is one of them. Tony Stark was one of them. So maybe I think that'll happen. There's really early signs, especially in early MCU, where you can tell that there might be some mutant influence going on in different places. In the Edward Norton Hulk movie, they mentioned he spent some time in Canada. Well, in the comics,
full of mutants, those dang
absolutely,
Canadians.
Absolutely. But Hulk, you know, Hulk fights Wolverine in the Canadian wilderness out there with a character named Wendigo. So they're kind of doing a little nod to that. And I know early on the MCU wanted to have mutants quicker, but it's the groundwork's there, and Wanda and Quicksilver are obviously mutants. They exist. So, and Magneto is their father. So we know that Magneto exists, right? Yeah. It's just waiting. And maybe between the reality gem or whatever the heck is happening in WandaVision, it'll spark either the mutant gene to kick in, or, you know, if it was me, just saying, the way I would do it, Xavier would exist and the School of Mutants would exist, and, you know, Cyclops would exist there, and the mutants would be on the edge of extinction. And so they've laid low because they don't want the government to know about them. And whether it's WandaVision or the reality gem, it sparks the mutant gene to kick in, and mutants are popping up all over the place. And Xavier wants to help, you know, accustom them to the world. You know, that's how I do it.
Yeah, a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but I was one of said people. Maybe you could do something with like the radiation from the snap, like, you know, sets off, you know, activates mutant genes from around the world, right? Or like maybe with people coming back when they re-snapped or something like that. Or even if you want to get specific to just WandaVision, like her creating the hex over Westview, right? Maybe the radiation, because they mentioned radiation in the show, you know, maybe that, you know, awakens some mutant genes or something.
Absolutely. Real quick, you know, one thing that Endgame kind of alluded to was, you know, the trouble out in the ocean. You know, when I hear that, exactly. And Namor's half mutant, so it's another open door.
And that was, you know, that was actually a significant little mention that they put a lot of emphasis on it. You know, I forget the character's name, but whoever. Oh no! Now I forget the actress's name, but she plays Michonne in The Walking Dead. Anyways, her response to Black Widow, she's like, "It was just an earthquake, bro. Like, there's nothing to see here, Easter egg wise."
Namor's like, "Was it?
Yeah,
just an earthquake?
Say it again."
Crush pop can.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if maybe, with Madripoor being kind of a central hub for a lot of happenings, it sounds like in the comics, maybe we'll get a little tease or a little introduction here or there. My idea would be going forward throughout Phase 4, because I don't think any mutant films, particularly like Fantastic Four, I think is a Phase 5 film. You do have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, so I'm sure there will be lots of Easter eggs in there. But like with each one of these series and each one of these Phase 4 movies, maybe in a post-credit scene here or there, or an Easter egg in a scene here or there, you start like being like, oh, that's, Cyclops or whatever. Like, start slowly trickling them in, and then Phase 5, you can just go, put to the floor.
You're set with the problem of, well, the world just almost ended. Where were you guys, right? Like, mutants have really, after, in the comics, they eventually, when Xavier's dead, Cyclops has an island called Utopia.
Whoa, spoiler! No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, right. in the comics, Cyclops has an island called Utopia, and he becomes kind of a mutant extremist. He just wants to protect them, and he becomes almost villainous, in extremist ways. But I think it's a perfect open door. Like, why didn't you guys help us? Well, because there's not many of us left, and we're trying to protect our own at this point. Humans don't care about us, so we got to protect ourselves. So it's a I think it's a perfect way to you have to bring them in. I think the same way you brought Batman into the DCU, you have to bring him in almost as a villainous entity. Yeah. He's not really a villain, but he wants to stop who's so far to this point been the hero, right?
Yeah.
And they're a polar opposite of what you've always known to be the hero. So you think of it as villainous, but they're heroes in their own way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they tie that in, and hopefully we'll get some sort of tie-in, whether large or small, here with this Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to talk about here in episode 0. So do you have any closing remarks or anything you want to get off your chest before the first episode comes out Friday?
No, I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to do the first episode of this, because we'll be able to discuss about what actually happened.
Talk about something that happened. Exactly. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you tuned into the live stream, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this video on YouTube afterwards and you liked what you heard, please subscribe and hit the notification bell and let us know what you thought. It really helps us out. You can find all of our stuff, Showboys related, at linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. You'll find all of our podcasting platforms, all of our social media pages, and a link to our Discord page, which probably is the best place to keep in touch with everything podcast related. So go follow us, like, rate, review, subscribe, join the Discord. And yeah, thanks again. Every Sunday following the newest release of Falcon and Winter Soldier, we will be here breaking it down for you guys, live stream style. And if you're not able to tune into the live stream, the audio versions will release every Tuesday morning. So with that being said, our good friend SJT, who allowed us to use his Mandalorian theme song remix for our Mandalorian Companion series, has graciously allowed us to use an Avengers remix that he did, and I'm going to play us out. Enjoy his amazing rendition of this song, and go follow him on all of his social medias, which will be in our episode description. So hopefully this works. It's my first time doing this on the live stream, so we will talk to you guys later. Enjoy this banger of a song. We are out of here.
The Avengers.
So we call ourselves to a team.
That's mightiest hero.
We control the sun. We control the sun. No.